Good day, everyone, and welcome to 3HAG Way, Year 2, 12-part webinar series. We're on part 8. Today's all about Jim Collins' hedgehog, BHAG, and core competencies and how they fit in well with 3HAG Way. This session will explain how to use the hedgehog, how to derive a great BHAG, and how to ensure your core competencies support your execution system, your flywheel, as well as your key process flow map. Let's get started. Well, why year 2? Well, why not, actually? Why not year 10? We should never stop iterating and evolving our 3HAG, and this is not a time to stop doing that. So let's keep going. We want to ensure that our 3HAG is as good as it possibly can be for the moment we're in. Iterating and evolving it is we're looking to drive our growth. We've seen companies experience 3 times top line growth in 3 years and 3 times cash flow in 3 years. So part of this is focusing on where we're going. It's ensuring we have a really strong foundation and that we're taking the time to reflect on the strategic pictures we have and how they might evolve as we need to move forward to where we want to go. It's all about ensuring that our 3HAG is where we want to go. This is all the work we've been doing that's founded upon a strong foundation and that we can drive the organization towards where we want to be to achieve our 3-year highly achievable goal. So today we'll do an intro, as always, cover off the objectives, touch briefly on what is strategy, what is a 3HAG, in case anyone's joining in for the first time. We're going to do the hedgehog, BHAG, core competencies, and how it interacts with the 3HAG. We're going to talk about the next steps that you should take after that, and then we'll wrap it up. Before we get going, I just want to say a huge congratulations. Our 3HAG certified coaches that cover the globe is growing. Brad Giles, Mike Moreau, Jed Roberts, and the latest, Cheryl Baron, our latest 3HAG certified coaches. Interestingly enough, these coaches are, covering the globe. So if you're interested in a coach, engaging a coach, hiring a coach, check out metronomeunited.com. All these coaches and their expertise, as well as where they're located, is on this site. Please don't hesitate. You always go faster with a coach. And quite frankly, you never go to the Business Olympics without a coach. Upcoming workshops, in case you're in any of these areas, we've got upcoming workshops in Halifax, Nova Scotia. That's 1 week from now. We have Brisbane, Australia happening with Ian Judson. We have Phoenix, Arizona with David Chavez. We have Boston, Massachusetts happening. And we have Nashville, Tennessee with Elizabeth Crook. So if you're in those areas, you want to learn more, you want to bring your whole team, I encourage that. Nothing better than learning with your team. Again, a little bit about myself. I have born and raised in Halifax, Nova Scotia. Went to school for many, many years. I have 3 degrees. I played many sports, and I was very fortunate to co-found a company with a great team called Paradata Systems. This is where we started using Rockefeller habits, those tools, and those tools helped drive us into, with a lot of other thought leaders' tools, into the systems we're going to talk about today and how the 3HAG came to be. PayPros bought Paradata Systems, and they backed in the systems now that we're working and learned from the tools that we're utilizing through many thought leaders. And then from there, I left PayPros. I co-founded another company, Subservio. Again, we went start to finish with the 3HAG way and the 6-7 systems that we're going to show you today and that we talk about, and that we really need to get cranking together. DST Systems bought Subservio in 2011, and I had to stay on. We backed into the systems again, into the business unit I was working in. And then I retired in 2013, and I had no thought or idea of becoming a coach. I got a few phone calls along the way from some CEO colleagues that would I come and coach them to do what we did with both Data and Subservio and their businesses. And that was very interesting to myself and still is today. I love coaching. I'm very thankful for those calls. And it's why the metronome effect exists. It's a very prescriptive book that describes the systems that we put in place in Data, PayPro, Subservio, and DST. And we want everyone to take that prescription, apply it to your organization, and make it yours and make it work for you and your team so you can see the success that you are driving to. Metronome Growth Systems is a software as a service platform that supports the systems, makes it easy, efficient, and drives visible accountability in your team. And Metronome United is a group of coaches worldwide, all trained in 3HAG way and the 6 systems, and looking to help support you grow your companies and drive your 3HAGs. 3HAG Way was written and released April 18th, 2018. This was written actually to explain the key system, the glue that holds all the systems together in one book. Again, very prescriptively written. We want you to take that prescription and apply it to your company. We want to ensure that it makes it easier to grow your company. Let's get on with it. Okay. Key objectives of the day. Well, we're focusing in on the strategic system, though today is all about the foundation. Now, we know you've gutted out your 3HAG. We've done that already. We've done an internal analysis. We've done some external analysis. These can never stop. We then have created our strategy. We can see our unique and valuable position. We know what our differentiators are, the interdependent set of activities that put us in that unique and valuable position. We map it out quarter over quarter on how we're going to get there to our 3-year highly achievable goal, driving our strategy and execution. And then we're going to evolve our 3-year highly achievable goal. And that's what these webinars are all about, giving you ways to actually look at your business, reflect on your business, and evolve and bring clarity to what you think about your business. So today we're honing in, as I said, on the hedgehog, BHAG, core competencies. These are all really foundational things that we want to be clear on in our business. So what is strategy? Michael Porter is a definition I like. It's memorable. My team would know it. They could actually see it. And what I mean by seeing it is they could see the unique and valuable position that we're going to put our organization in. And we could see and understand the different set of activities that we needed to ensure was in place in order to put us in that unique and valuable position or to maintain the unique and valuable position. And this is all done through the steps of 3HAG Way. And the steps that we take in order to create the visibility required so that the whole organization can clearly and simply understand our strategy and understand how we're going to get there. So what do you think about competition? Well, I grew up playing sports and I was always competing to be the best. And when I started my first company, I thought we were supposed to do that as well in business. And competing to be the best in business is really usually a race to the bottom. We want to compete to be unique. Hence where that unique and valuable position comes from. We want to take the actions, the activities, that interdependent set of activities, and avoid competing with our rivals on the same dimension. We really want to get on to our own dimension. And to ensure that we get onto our own dimension and that we can maintain that dimension, we can never stop the internal analysis, the external analysis, reflecting on what we learned there and the position we're in today and the position we might need to get in. And that helps us actually articulate our strategy. And then thinking about the logical fit to our execution. And then we need to go back around and do that analysis again, and it should never stop. Hence why these webinars just keep on going. So just to remind you, we have our cultural system that we're really focusing in on. BHAG, hedgehog. It's, you know, founded with the CEO, core purpose, core values, and our 10 to 30 big, hairy, audacious goal, as Jim Collins has coined it. We have our cohesive system. This is the way that a high-performing team easily achieves what they've set out to in a way that's fun, interactive, and where a team wants to show up and work with one another every day. And we use the framework of overcoming the 5 dysfunctions by Pat Lencioni. There are many frameworks. There's many thought leaders that contribute to this area. And they're all very valid. It's all about how well we can work together, starting with the leadership team and throughout the whole organization. The human system, we powered it by top grading because that was where we started looking at attracting and hiring A players. And then once you get a whole lot of A players, and you know, the goal then is to keep them. And we needed to figure out how to coach, keep, and grow them in a systematized way that aligned with the cultural system and the cohesive system. And the very top of the house, we have the team leaders sandwiching this all together, holding it together with the CEO. And at the very top of the house is the team. And the team is the one holding the reputation of the organization in their hands in the marketplace. And everything that goes on within the house needs to be communicated to the team. And everything that goes on in the market needs to be communicated back into the house. This is very key. It's why we have this great cadence, this great metronome around our meeting structure and the communication and how we share information in a 24-hour period, daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. The whole team must be involved. The strategic system is inside the house. This is our analysis and keeping alive and clearly and simply being able to articulate our strategy. We need to line that up to our execution system. This is all about what we focus on daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, and ensuring we have a plan that, you know, that we have derived with our team, that they are involved, and the whole team lines up to that plan. In the very center of the house is the cash system, which must be, you know, foundational. And what holds us all together is our 3HAG, our 3-year highly achievable goal, aligned to our BHAG, aligned to our 1HAG, which is our 1-year highly achievable goal. And then what we're going to do today, week, month, and in the quarter, that 90-day period. Now, this is the framework. You can make it your framework. We call it the growth system. There's 6 systems in here, and there's actually a 7th system. The 7th system, as we learned, as we implemented these systems, is called the coach cascade system. And what is meant by that? This is where the leaders learn how to be coaches, and they coach their leaders, and they help coach their leaders to become coaches. And then their leaders coach their team members, and so on. We must cascade the coaching throughout the organization. We must cascade coaching throughout the organization. This is a way that will easily grow our team members. A high-performing team, A players, everybody wants to grow. Whether there's opportunities within the organization or not, people want to grow. And when we have a team that wants to grow, guess what? We all know the answer. The company grows as well. And we're going to grow towards where we want to go. So the coach cascade system is one It's very, very important, but it's one of the, unfortunately, it's one of those systems that has to overlay the other systems, because we as leaders need to actually grow into this. And if I go back one step, the systems that get focused on in the beginning, no matter what, whether you're having a tough time in your business, meaning maybe your flywheel is stalling out, or you're just starting a business, we're always focusing in on the execution and cash system. That's where we start. And it's funny because those are, very hard edge systems. We need people, we need execution and cash. Once we get execution and cash going, we then start looking to strategy. And in order to get the strategic system going, we must understand our foundation, our cultural system. In order to get that cranking, we have to ensure the team on board is becoming cohesive and that we have a solid, repeatable human system to keep our team members being treated the same, ensuring that they are coached, ensuring that they're growing to where they want to go, ensuring they're rewarded for great work, and that they get to continuously take on new opportunities as we organize and grow the company. So I'll leave you at that for now. There'll be more to come on the Coach Cascade system and how that fits into all the other 6 systems. Now, why are we doing all this? Well, of course, we're doing all this to get better at predicting the future. Predicting the future is difficult at best. We know that. Most people don't even want to predict the future past 1 year because they're going to be wrong. And a lot of people go, what's the point? There's a huge point. We want to predict the future. We want to write down where we're going. We want to actually reflect on what we thought then when we made the prediction and now when we know what has happened. The way we do this is laying out our BHAG, 3HAG, 1HAG, our corporate 90-day, our individual 90-day priorities. And we want to forecast cash, profit, expenses, and our widgets. Our widgets are the things that flow through our organization. And these need to be forecasted and visible. These are a great way for the team to relate what they do every day back to the plan and how we're doing. It's easy to create a score out of widgets. It's easy to actually forecast the future with widgets, but we must know what widgets we should be forecasting. Key process flow map, as we touched on in the past, is such a great foundational thing to start forecasting widgets for 0 to 90 days, and then to 12 months, and then to 24 months, and then to 36 months. Then we can apply assumptions around the dollar value of those widgets. The definition of a 3HAG, strategic execution system that drives confidence in predicting the future growth of your company and making it happen. This is where strategy and execution meet. Most companies have a 1-year highly achievable goal. They have a 12-month plan and they drive it. And as they drive through the year, it becomes smaller and smaller. It becomes a 9-month plan, a 6-month plan, a 3-month plan as they move into the last quarter. And then they're scrambling to create next year's plan. And some more companies are clear on their core purpose and their core values, and they have a 10 to 30-year goal, their big, hairy, audacious goal. And then what we want is all companies, not to have a super wild ass guess that sort of lines up where that 1-year plan is going, but we want them to have a 3-year highly achievable goal that's absolutely tied, and you can map quarter over quarter from your 1HAG to your 3HAG. This is the way we get the whole team focused and we decrease our risk in achieving our goals. The 3HAGs is there to simplify. Through the pictures we have on the wall, the strategic pictures, we get aligned behind where we're going. We create the focus we need for the win. The whole team gets focused. We have clarity because it's simple. We can describe it. We can tell the story in the pictures. And we have confidence in where we're going, confidence in the decisions we're making. The growth system, again, we've talked about this. You've seen this earlier. We are focusing in on the hedgehog. The hedgehogs is all about focusing in on one big thing for simplicity and clarity, and then creating a 10 to 30 year goal lined up to that, and ensuring that how we execute every day towards that goal, both the BHAG and the 3HAG, that we have the competencies in place in order to achieve the executional plan as well as the strategy. So when we think about this, where does those things play in? They're very, very foundational. They actually come into foundation 1, 2, and 3. And the competencies play as much into the execution side of things as it does into where we want to take the company strategically. You can't grow the company strategically and evolve the strategy without understanding the core competencies and ensuring that the competencies are in place. If you create a strategy and you don't have the core competencies in place, it's usually going to be a failed strategy. That's what history has shown. So let's get going and moving forward and focusing in on the hedgehog, BHAG, and core competencies. Now, funny enough, I know you're saying, look, we've already gone through this. Well, I go through this every year with my teams, sometimes more than once, depending on what's happening. And I just want to confirm that we do have the absolute core purpose, solid and simple, and we have a good, big, hairy, audacious goal that is clear and relevant. Here we go. So as we jump in, you know I always look for one word. This word today, I want you to think for a minute and come up with one word that describes your company's core business. Okay, there's no right or wrong answer here. And quite frankly, if you're listening in and watching this with your team might write down a couple of different answers. What we want to ensure when we come out of this webinar today is that we're going to be clear on our core business. And we're going to be clear on our core business and how we make money on our core business. Yes, we're going to make money on our core business. This is what makes up our core business. If our core business does not make money, it's probably not a business we should be in. So when we think about that and we think about this framework and we're looking at this, as I said earlier, a lot of times we're focused in on execution and cash. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. When those two systems aren't working well, they absolutely, that they take all the focus, and that is so normal. Basic needs of an organization. We have to execute to make money. In order to make this easier, clearer, though, when we think of the foundation of the organization, we're going to look in at the BHAG, and to drive the BHAG, we really need to break down the hedgehog. And the hedgehog actually helps us get clear on our big, hairy, audacious goal. 3HAG way, and where this all fits together, as you know, is we really want to ensure that the foundation of our organization is clear and we have something written down. It might not be perfect. You know that I'm all about gutting it out to help us drive through and get clearer and clearer on our 3-year highly achievable goal. Now, when we think of it this way and we think of the alignment from core purpose to core values, drives into our BHAG, our 3HAG, our 1HAG, our 90-day corporate, 90-day individual priorities, right into our 30-day individual priorities. And then as we execute, it comes all the way back. As we see things happening in the marketplace, we evolve our 3HAG, our BHAG, and our core purpose as well. So Jim Collins' hedgehog really drives into that first bubble on the left. And it's broken down in a core purpose, core business, and our profit per X, with the intersection of those three things driving our BHAG. So let's break it down a bit further. So Jim's hedgehog concept is all about the fox and the hedgehog. And the fox knows many things and actually wants not wants or on purpose, I would say, but things become very complicated. There's many things going on. It becomes very, very complex. And you know what? It's really hard to align a team behind that. And leaders who can, create clearly just one big thing, leaders who can drive to one big thing, actually have a better chance of going from good to great. So leaders that know many things, it's awesome, but we need to actually focus in on one big thing. And so you can learn how to focus in on one big thing. That's what the hedgehog concept is all about. The companies that focused on one big thing were able to take their companies from good to great. So when we think about this, the hedgehog concept, core purpose. Now, Jim's original question is, what are you deeply passionate about? Well, having tried that with my company and many other companies, a lot of people write down their personal passion. And what we found in my companies and others is if we got clear on why does a company exist, what are we passionate about? What about the core purpose of the company? The core purpose. Are we passionate? What is the core purpose, and are we passionate about it? Then what can you be best in the world at? What can you be best in the world at? That's the next question. It's all about your core business. And then what drives your economic engine? So how are you going to make money at your core business? Does your core business serve your core purpose? And the intersection of those three things is your BHAG. Now, most people know this. We've already talked about this. And what we want to do at this point is you've normally already got something written down for all these questions. We just want to peel it back a little bit further and ensure the answers are as true as possible to the time being we're in right now. That they're as true as possible, as updated as possible, as clear as possible. So why does a company exist? Now, all the companies that I work with today, coach today, have something written down to answer that question. And a lot of times when we start answering that question in the beginning and when we're gutting it out, the answer to that question is a what or a how. It's not necessarily a why. So I usually, when I get to this point, I already know they have a core purpose and they're like, we really like our core purpose. And so I go, okay, great. But let's answer a few more questions. And I never tell them that they're going to be answering these questions to really hone in on the why. What I do is I walk up to the easel, to the board, and I draw a circle. And I put in that circle the question, what? Can you please write down on a Post-it note what this company does? And everybody sort of looks at me and they're like, okay, and they write down the what. A lot of times I see the what they've written down is their actual why. It's already been written down and in place maybe for a year or so. But that's okay. That's why we're doing this. We're doing this to actually peel back the onion to get to the why. So then I get each leader to bring up their Post-it note with the what and tell us what it says. And, we're usually in the ballpark of the what, right? So the Post-it notes go around the outside ring of that circle. And I make sure it does. And then I draw another circle. And I say, how? How does a company do the what you just wrote down? Please write down the how on a Post-it note. And one by one, you'll bring it up. And so off they go. They write down the how. And they bring it up one by one. And they're going, yep, they're feeling pretty good about themselves, which they should know the what and the how of their business. And then the last question is, why? Why do you do the what and the how? Now, I recently did this with one of my clients. and the outcome was fantastic. It was what we've been looking for so long, what they've been looking for so long. And it's really changed not only the leadership team, but how the whole company decides and shows up, decides how they show up for work, why they do what they do at work. And it's really been transformative. We want people to be passionate and excited about the why, and we want to get to what that is. So if you're currently looking at your why today and you think it's a what or a how, I strongly recommend with your leadership team, starting out, and don't tell them we're working on the why. I never write, Simon Sinek, start with why. I never tell them we're going to do that. I just walk up to the board and draw a circle and put what and ask them the question. The next circle, how, ask them the question. And then the next circle, why, and ask them the question. It's hugely revealing, peels it back, and I've never not walked out of there with a really solid new why for the organization. Okay, here's a few examples I pulled from Jim Collins' website for some whys. Let me just pull a couple out here. Walt Disney, we know, to make people happy. That's why they exist. Mary Kay, why do they exist? To give unlimited opportunity to women. Walmart, to give ordinary folk the chance to buy the same things as rich people. What's another one? 3M, to solve unsolved problems innovatively. There's no what or how in the answer to their why. So I really want you to take a look. If you're a coach listening in, take a good hard look at your client's why. If you're a company listening in, please take a look at your why. And let's if it is a what or a how, absolutely fine. We're all about gutting it out, and it's better to have something written down than nothing. But if you do have a what or a how, let's peel it back to get to the why. It will really make a difference in your organization's sort of passion and reasonability on why people show up and do the things they do. So, core purpose. Why does the company exist? We know how important that is. The second question is, what can you be best in the world at? So, it's not a goal to be best. It's not a strategy to be best. It's not an intention to be best. It's not a plan to be best. It's an understanding of what you can be best at. This is taken directly out of Good to Great. I didn't want to screw up the wording on this one. It's directly out of Good to Great. It's not a goal to be best, not a strategy to be best, an intention to be best, a plan to be best. It's an understanding of what you can be best at. And if you cannot be best in the world at your core business, then your core business cannot form the basis of your hedgehog concept. So it's really important that we understand what our core business is, and it's an understanding that we can be best at it. So, what core business can you be best in the world at? I want you to take a moment and think about that. A lot of people don't think about that. A lot of people don't even write down what their core business is. Okay, so core purpose, core business, and now whatever you wrote down for your core purpose, I want to ensure that you can make money at it. Want to make sure that you can make money at it, because if you can't make money at it, we want to go back and look at our core business. Now, if you've been involved in this webinar series, 3HAG Way, you have a key process flow map. And the best way to figure out your profit per X is to have a look at your key process flow map. You probably already have this written down. You might have 2 or 3 things written down on your profit per X, and that is okay. As time goes on, we want to look at that on a 1-year basis, your profit per X, on a 3-year basis, what that's going to be, your profit per X, and then on your BHAG, your 10 to 30-year basis, your profit per X. But we must be able to make money at our core business, and it must serve our core purpose. And the interaction of these three things become our BHAG. And in order to drive that BHAG, as we talked about earlier, we've got to have the foundation in place. So we need to have, level 5 leaders and driving towards level 5 leaders. We need to have the right people in place. We need to attract, coach, keep, and grow A players. We need to be able to have the discussions required, meaning that we need to have a cohesive team in order to confront the brutal facts. And then in order to confront the brutal facts and have that breakthrough that can drive to our 3HAG and our BHAG, we really need to be clear on our hedgehog concept. And then from there, as we know that the execution system needs to kick in with a culture of discipline, and we need to actually leverage all the technology accelerators we possibly can to drive our execution, to drive our flywheel, to ensure that we can make money at our core business. So the intersection of these three things is our big, hairy, audacious goal. Now, you've all gutted one out to this point. We've got our clients gutting them out. We continue to evolve them. I wanted to just take a moment and dig in a bit deeper to the BHAG, a little bit, and just share. I've always talked about there's 4 types of BHAGs. There's the targeted, target-oriented, competitive, role model, internal transformation. Now, for me, I really don't care what kind of BHAG it is, honestly. And we didn't even know about this when we were originally working with BHAGs in the past. You can see these BHAGs. They're pulled from online. And I pulled them on purpose. These are BHAGs that go back to the 1930s. We've got the 1950s. We've got the 60s. I don't know what happened in the 70s, but we're missing the 70s. Oh, no, there we've got some 70s, and we've got some 80s, and we've got some 90s. So went back quite a ways to pull these out. The interesting thing is, and I think you all know this, what I really care about is that we don't put numbers in our BHAG. And I think you all know why at this point. When we put numbers in our BHAG, people automatically try and figure out how to get there, realize that they can't figure out how to get there. And so they poo-poo the BHAG, and it really takes away from what we're driving towards. And so the BHAG that we have been successful, my teams, companies I work with have been successful with, is creating a picture of where we want to get to and then getting the team behind it. So we never had a BHAG that had dollars in it or number of something in it. It just, someone in the crowd automatically said, 10 years, and they divided by and said, there's, where we are here, there's no way we can get there. We know with a big, hairy, audacious goal that we don't need to know how to get there. Okay, we don't need to know how to get there today. I know that drives people crazy. So we just want to describe where that is. Right? So let's just describe where we want to go without any numbers. It should be a big deal. What mountain are you climbing? These are some words, some questions from Jim Collins. It should serve as your North Star. It's going to drive long-term behavior because that's where we're going to. We're looking up. And we're going to favor decisions that actually help us get towards our long-term growth. So we can make decisions today for the future. We don't make decisions today that are going to drive us, deeper with our heads down. We want heads up, looking around towards our 10 to 30-year goal. Now, with that, again, that 10 to 30-year goal, there are 4 types. It's great information, those 4 types. The key for me, the type that I want you to think about with your big, hairy, audacious goal is create the goal without any numbers. And if you've got one in mind or you have one today with a number, just remove the number and read it again. See how it reads. The whole idea behind this is that it creates a picture for your team in where and what you want them to see and when you get there. We're trying to line up a whole team towards where we want to go. A $125 billion company gives maybe only the leadership team or the CEO a picture. But what does that $125 billion company look like? What does it look like? Describe what it looks like. Be specific. And then once you get that down and you get a line behind it, I love using Cameron's Harold's from his double, paint the picture of what it looks like. It's so helpful. It's so useful. We want people to see where they're going. And then here's some test questions from Jim Collins' site. Is it exciting? Meaning if people get excited that they're going to get there. Is it clean and compelling? Does it connect to the core purpose? Is the whole team excited? Does it drive big steps in capabilities? Would we be able to tell if we got there in 25 years? I try not to put a year on your BHAG. So I never say, in 2030, we're going to be this. I just always say in 10 plus years, our big, hairy, audacious goal is we're going to be the leading global payment service provider. It gives the team a picture. It gets them excited. It's memorable. They can make great decisions for today, for the future. So just have a look at the BHAG that you have written down. If it needs to be evolved, do it with the whole leadership team. Once you do it, you then need to share it with the rest of the team and why it evolved. The big, hairy, audacious goal doesn't show up in this picture. Other than the hedgehog concept, it is in the middle of the hedgehog concept. And it's going to drive where we break through to. And the interim step is the 3-year highly achievable goal. It's the one that most people can get their heads around. A BHAG without a 3HAG is really hard for most people to get their heads around. The 3HAG exists because it gets the whole team believing and easily seeing the steps they need to take in 3 years' time to get to that 10+ year goal. That's why it exists. So super important that we have that in place, that we spend that time, that you spend that time with your team. And I do it at least once a year. If we're running into issues, if things are evolving and changing, we will do that easily again. It doesn't take a lot of time, especially when we've been through it a couple of times. Everyone understands the concepts and they usually feel that we need to evolve it. Now, Jim Collins' flywheel that you just saw in the as part of the hedgehog concept, is the execution piece of this view. And within it, the core competencies drive the execution system. We need to have core competencies to drive our execution. And it actually helps move the flywheel. And it actually builds the momentum in the flywheel, our core competencies. There aren't that many companies that actually write them down and talk about the core competencies. It's really important that we're clear on those, especially when we're evolving our strategy and evolving, to where we want to be in 3 years' time. And we want to ensure that, why we map out the swim lanes, why we actually write down the things that we need to accomplish. We need to have the competencies in order to do that. And if we don't have the competencies, we need to go and acquire those competencies in time, right? To actually put that capability, that milestone in place in order to have those differentiators working for us to get us into a unique and valuable position. So the definition of a core competency, I actually went to look it up. This has been around for a long time, but I just thought I would go see if I could find a definition that was clear and simple. And the definition is something that a business can do well that meets three conditions. It provides consumer benefits, you could say core customer benefits. It's not easy for the competitors to imitate, and it can be leveraged widely to many products and markets. So it can be leveraged widely in your organization. If you're a smaller organization, you may have one product, one service. You are leveraging it for that product or service. If you're a really large company, you're leveraging it across many products and many markets. And this came out of a book, The Core Competence of the Corporation, from 1990. I know I went back in history to find some of this stuff for this webinar today, but I thought it was just good to go back to look at the foundational things that actually have built up, companies, over time and around the world. So I liked this definition. It actually brought some clarity, and when you're thinking about your company's core competencies, let's keep this in mind. It provides core customer benefits. It's not easy for competitors to imitate. It can be leveraged widely to many products and markets, or to your main product or market. So here are some examples that I pulled out. Apple's core competencies: innovation, brand recognition, marketing. Costco, customer service, value, employee recognition. I had to look that one up because I don't know if I would have known that, not having worked at Costco. And Walmart. Their two core competencies are buying power and supply chain management. We know that's the competencies of Walmart that has really distinguished themselves for many, many years in their marketplace. So I picked some big names here because I knew that we could relate to these companies. And now I want you to think of your core competencies for your business. And they're not a big laundry list. They're like the top things that actually fall into these three conditions. Okay, so when we think about that, and what I do with the companies that I work with is I break the leadership team into groups. If I'm working with a larger leadership team or even the company, I'd still break them into groups. Have each group brainstorm 3 to 5 core competency ideas per group. Write each one down on a Post-it note. Have each group present each idea, so each Post-it note. And then I'd have someone up there grouping up the similar ones, because they're going to come up with similar ones, maybe stated differently. Once we have all the ideas up and we've got the groupings, then we're going to work on just naming the groups, i.e. naming the competency. And then we're going to keep consolidating those groups and competencies until we have 3 to 5 strong competencies that the whole team agrees with. And then, a lot of people go, then what do you do with those? What we want to do with them is we want to get them into our one-page plan, for sure. We want to get them up on the wall, and we want to make sure that as we evolve our plan, as we evolve our strategy, as we might run into problems in execution, we can look back to what our core competencies are. These are our inherent strengths, and we want to ensure that we keep these in focus as we continue to grow the company, especially when we're evolving the strategy. Because a lot of companies evolve strategy without realizing that they don't have all the competencies in place to evolve their strategy. And we know 3HAG way is all about strategy and execution. Core competencies are very foundational to the 3HAG way. So if you haven't done this with your team, I strongly encourage you to do it. If you haven't done it with your coach listening in, and you haven't done this with your company as of yet, take some time to do this to help create some foundational views. Now, if you're a coach listening in, or even a company listening in, I didn't spend a whole lot of time in 3HAG way on core competencies. I think it was just purely to do with, taking that as a given. But as I've learned over the last year or so, and years actually working with companies, never make assumptions that the core competencies are clear and simple enough for everyone to understand. Take the time to write them down and get them on the wall. So the core competencies are going to play right into execution. And not only that, we know when we get execution going and the flywheel with momentum, we're going to start driving towards our 3HAG. And as we drive towards our 3HAG, we're executing our strategy and our execution. We want to ensure the core competencies that build the momentum, that drive into our 3HAG, lining up with our strategy and our execution, are the competencies required for success. Okay, so when we see this, I love Jim Collins' phrase as strategic compounding. In order to compound our strategy, we have to ensure we have our core competencies clear and in place. So that's going to wrap up the key to the thoughts and the ideas around the hedgehog concept, tying in the core competencies, and tying in execution. And when we think about this alignment, we need to have these pictures on the wall. Not only this picture, most of my clients have this picture on the wall with each one of these areas filled out for them and for their team to keep them focused. But they also have the hedgehog. They also have the key process flow map. They also have the flywheel in place on the wall as well. These are the things that allow us to bring together our foundation all the way through to our execution and cash and drive through from our 1HAG to our 3HAG to our BHAG. So we know this evolution is all about getting more outcomes for us to reflect on as we continue to move forward. Taking time to reflect on the strategic pictures we have is one of the best, most powerful things you can do with your team. As a coach, that's what we're there to do, to help teams reflect on where they are right now. And I fully congratulate the teams that are running a regular rhythm for the reflection required in order to move the company forward. It takes huge discipline to reflect on where you are now in order to move the company forward. So what are the next steps? Well, I just talked about it. Keep the view on the wall. Everything we do, keep it on the wall. I think I'm a broken record on that, but keep it on the wall. Keep the flywheel, key process flow map on the wall. But the next step I would take is, now that you've done and re-upped this work, you got to go back and look at your flywheel and your key process flow map, both from a core competencies perspective, as well as are we designing our organization today for our 3HAG, for our BHAG? Are we lining things up and driving it? And we've got to actually think about it in the context of today. The competencies that we talked about, we absolutely need to look at it in regards to the flywheel today, the key process flow map today, and then looking forward to our 3HAG. We always have to come back and review our 3HAG. So if you evolved your core purpose today, we've got to share that out with the team. If you evolved how you describe your core business, of course you have to share that out. You might want to sleep on it for a little bit. Yeah, you might want to wordsmith it. I know how that goes, but then you need to share it out. And if you absolutely evolved your BHAG, again, we want to get our heads around it, ensure that it's, where we want to go. Don't take too much time. If you think that you've gone in the right direction, take it forward, share it out. The more you talk about it, the more you write it down, the more you say it, the more likely you will be confident that that is the BHAG we need to take forward. And then we need to line up the 3HAG and the 1HAG to that. So when we change our BHAG, we have to line up our 3HAG and our 1HAG. So to wrap it up, we're evolving our 3HAG Today, we focused in on the foundation, including our BHAG. If you evolved your BHAG, look at your 3HAG. If you actually wrote down your core competencies for the first time today, or rewrote them, or removed some of them, look at it in the context of the work you've already done. Core competencies probably aren't given enough credit as we should give them. They're so important. I've worked with companies that I get called into work with because their strategy isn't working, and it's because they've derived and put a strategy in place that they're driving the company to without the core competencies in place. The core competencies are absolutely foundational. Again, we do all this. Why are we doing all these things and working on very specific components? Is we want to ensure we have visibility. We want to ensure that we have the systems running to be efficient in our organization. And we want to ensure that we have our execution and cash system cranking so we can focus on a strategic system that is absolutely surrounded by our cohesive human and cultural system. At the very top of the house, we've got to take care of our team members. And these systems allow us to simply and clearly explain where we're going and get the feedback we need, and to actually have the team members become owners of this whole plan. Predicting the future, it's all about the widgets, and team members can own the widgets. Our next session, moving on, it's kind of popped right up there. Our next session is September the 3rd, 9 a.m. Pacific. We're going to hone in, switch gears a little bit, but we're going to hone in on Kyan Krippendorf's Outthinker and talk a little bit about the fourth option and how it fits in with 3HAG Way. I love this tool. I got certified as soon as it came out with Kyan. He wrote the foreword in 3HAG Way. I'm a huge fan, and I'm really looking forward to sharing with you how his work fits in with the 3HAG Way. Hope you can join me. Again, this recording will be available. The slides and tools will be available for download. And we have tons of resources. Please, if you're looking for tools we've talked about, if you're looking for support, don't hesitate to reach out to us through metronomeunited.com. Upcoming workshops, just one more look at those. The next one is August the 12th, 2019. A huge shout out to everybody for all the feedback, all the questions, all the great kudos out there on social media. The momentum's amazing, and I really, really appreciate all the work that everyone's doing to actually drive the success of companies, 3HAGs, growing leaders, and impacting lives. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you all at the next webinar. Have a great week.